What's more important, adopting green technology like EV cars and solar panels as quickly as possible, or geostrategic security? Well, it was all up in the air for quite some time, but I think the answer is now quite clear with Biden's recent plans to raise EV tariffs for Chinese cars from 25 to 100%, among other tariffs. Why is this happening? Are there evil, shady powers in play? Not really. Quite simply, America is the status quo power, meaning it's the one who created the current world order, and thus it's the main beneficiary. Its power, wealth, and global influence is dependent on maintaining the current status quo, especially with this recent shale oil revolution. Sure, it's allegedly terrible for the environment, but it has meant America doesn't really need to rely on anyone else for its energy. It's as self-reliant in terms of energy as any country could possibly be in the 21st century. China, meanwhile, despite owing its astonishing rise from poverty in the 70s and beyond to the American-led order, it has much greater ambitions to perhaps replace America as the world hegemon, and right now we are seeing a once-in-a-century energy shift. And don't underestimate the importance of this. One of the main reasons why the UK and Germany were such huge industrial powerhouses in the 19th century was because they were sitting on top of huge coal reserves, and a reason for their fall from grace in the 20th century and a reason for America's rise was access to oil. And thus China has put an unbelievable amount of effort in the last decade, enshrined in the Made in China 2025 initiative and the Belt and Road project, to set itself up for the next energy transition. They have seemingly won the 21st century race for Africa, controlling, for example, 80% of the Congo's cobalt, and they also control 70% of the lithium supply and 75% of permanent magnets, which is very important in making electric motors. From Africa to South America, China currently has a stranglehold on battery and motor production, and with protectionist policies at home, for example, spending 28 billion USD on EV subsidies and tax breaks from 2009 to 2022 means that EV cars made in China are typically made under cost, and with domestic oversupply, this means they can simply dump these cars on the international market at prices nobody else could possibly begin competing with, forcing foreign competitors out of business, setting themselves up as the new leaders for this new energy world for the next century. Already 60% of global EVs are made in China, 80% of solar panels as well, and this follows what China did in the steel industry about 10 years ago. The results are still being felt today. You might retort and say that for the goodness of the world, for the environment, a globalist world with neoliberal trade policies is preferable, and that America and the West shouldn't start this trade war. But the thing is, the trade war has already been in motion for at least a decade already. When one large manufacturing power like China starts putting up protectionist trade policies, it puts competitor countries with more liberal policies at a severe disadvantage, meaning that everyone would soon have to become protectionist in themselves. And in this new techno-nationalist world where one's geostrategic security is dependent on securing domestic technological advantages at the expense of others, these 100% tariffs seem all but inevitable. I'm not at all surprised that America is not willing to sacrifice its energy and manufacturing capability to China for a faster transition to green energy. Any suggestion otherwise would be naive, and I believe any country would rather first secure its own capabilities and supply chains before making the switch. I'm not saying this is good, but it's simply how the world works. Thanks for listening.